The grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and fresh white flowers. Soft music filled the air as elegantly dressed guests mingled, holding champagne glasses, laughing at polished jokes. This was Claire Whitmore's wedding, one of the most talked-about events of the year, filled with the city's wealthiest families. In the middle of all this glamour stood Emily Parker, Claire's cousin, feeling completely out of place. Her dress was simple, a soft blue color, bought from a small local shop months ago. It wasn't designer. It wasn't expensive, but it was the best she could afford. Emily smoothed the fabric nervously, glancing around at the sea of sparkling gowns and expensive jewelry surrounding her. She had known this wedding would be extravagant, but standing here now, she felt every difference between her simple life and her cousin's wealthy world. "Emily, is that really the dress you chose?" a sharp voice called out. Emily turned to see her aunt, Diane, approaching with a disapproving look, followed by a group of giggling relatives. "It's lovely, Aunt Diane," Emily replied politely, though her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "Lovely isn't quite the word I'd use," Diane said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Did you get that from a discount store, dear?" The women around her laughed softly, clearly enjoying Emily's discomfort. Emily forced a small smile, refusing to let them see how deeply their words stung. "I'm here to celebrate Claire," Emily said calmly. "That's what matters." Of course," Diane replied dismissively, already turning away to rejoin the crowd. "Just try not to embarrass the family too much." Emily took a deep breath, blinking back tears of humiliation. She had grown up watching her wealthy relatives look down on her small, hard-working family. Tonight was no different. She wandered toward a quiet corner near the large windows, trying to escape the judgmental stares. But even there, she overheard more whispers. "Can you believe she actually wore that here?" One woman murmured to another. "Some people just don't understand how to dress appropriately," the other replied, giggling. Emily closed her eyes briefly, forcing herself to stay composed. She reminded herself why she came: to support Claire, not to impress anyone else. Unknown to Emily, someone else in the room had noticed the entire scene. Alessandro Marchetti, a powerful and respected figure within the city's most influential crime family, stood near the bar, watching quietly. He was invited as a business associate of the groom's family, someone whose presence commanded respect and quiet fear among the wealthy guests. Alessandro had seen countless displays of wealth and arrogance throughout his life, but something about the young woman standing alone, holding her head high despite clear humiliation, caught his attention. He watched as another group of guests approached Emily, clearly intending to continue mocking her simple appearance. "Sweetheart, weddings usually require a bit more effort," one man said mockingly, gesturing toward her dress. "Perhaps you should have borrowed something nicer." Emily's polite smile faltered slightly, but she held her ground. "I think what matters most tonight is celebrating my cousin's happiness, not the price tag on my dress." The man's smirk faded slightly, clearly not expecting such calm confidence from her. Alessandro found himself moving closer, intrigued by her quiet strength. He had spent years around people who valued wealth and status above everything else, and yet, here was a young woman completely unashamed of her simplicity, standing tall despite obvious ridicule. "Actually," Diane interjected loudly, clearly enjoying the tension, "we're all wondering when Emily plans to find herself a husband. Perhaps then she could dress more appropriately." The group laughed again, louder this time, causing Emily's cheeks to burn with humiliation. She opened her mouth to respond, but before she could speak, a deep, commanding voice interrupted. "Actually," Alessandro said calmly, stepping directly into the circle of guests, "I think Miss Parker looks stunning tonight." The group fell silent immediately, clearly surprised by his sudden appearance. Alessandro Marchetti's reputation preceded him: powerful, wealthy, and not someone anyone dared to challenge. "Mr. Marchetti," Diane stammered, clearly caught off guard. "We didn't realize you knew Emily." "I don't yet," Alessandro replied smoothly, his eyes locking onto Emily's surprised gaze. "But I intend to change that." Before anyone could respond, Alessandro reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. Gasps echoed through the crowd as he knelt down in front of Emily, opening the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring, easily worth millions. Emily Parker, Alessandro said clearly, his voice steady and confident. Will you do me the honor of being my fiancée? The entire room fell into stunned silence. Emily stared down at him, her heart pounding wildly, completely speechless. She had no idea who this man truly was, why he was doing this, or what game he might be playing. But as she looked into his calm, serious eyes, she realized this moment was about to change her life forever, in ways she couldn't possibly imagine. With trembling hands and hundreds of shocked eyes watching intently, Emily slowly extended her hand, allowing Alessandro to slide the breathtaking ring onto her finger. Whispers erupted instantly throughout the room, disbelief and shock spreading rapidly among the wealthy guests who, just moments earlier, had mocked her mercilessly. Emily looked up at Alessandro, silently asking the question everyone in the room wanted answered. Why? But Alessandro merely smiled calmly, standing up and gently placing her hand in his. We'll discuss everything later, he whispered softly. For now, let's give them a proper show. As camera flashes began capturing the unbelievable scene, Emily's mind raced, uncertain, terrified, yet strangely excited about the mysterious journey she had just been thrust into. One that promised danger, secrets, and perhaps, unexpectedly, love. The ballroom buzzed with whispers and shocked murmurs as Alessandro guided Emily away from the crowd, his hand firm yet gentle around hers. Camera flashes continued in the background, capturing every second of the unbelievable scene, but Alessandro moved with calm purpose, leading Emily toward a quiet private room just off the main hall. Once the heavy door closed behind them, muffling the noise from the party, Emily finally found her voice. What was that? She demanded, pulling her hand back and staring at the massive diamond ring still on her finger. Who are you, and why would you do something like that? Alessandro studied her for a moment, clearly weighing his words carefully. My name is Alessandro Marchetti, he said calmly, and I apologize for the shock. I should have asked you first, but there wasn't time. Time for what exactly? Emily asked, crossing her arms, still trying to process everything. You just proposed to a complete stranger in front of hundreds of people. I know how it looks, Alessandro admitted, but I promise I had good reason. Then explain it, Emily said firmly, because right now none of this makes sense. Alessandro sighed, running a hand through his hair. I run a family business, one that requires a certain image, a certain stability. My associates have been pressuring me for months to settle down, to prove I'm capable of commitment, of building a stable future. Tonight, seeing how you handled yourself against those people, I saw an opportunity. Emily's eyes widened in disbelief. An opportunity? You mean you used me to solve your business problems? In a way, yes, Alessandro admitted honestly. But I wouldn't have chosen just anyone, Emily. The way you carried yourself tonight, the strength you showed despite their cruelty, it was genuine, rare, exactly the kind of person my associates would respect. Emily shook her head, anger and confusion swirling together. This is insane. I can't just pretend to be engaged to a stranger, especially not someone in your line of work. I understand this is sudden, Alessandro said gently, but let me explain the benefits clearly. If you agree to this arrangement, even temporarily, I will ensure your family's financial struggles disappear completely. Medical bills, debts, anything holding you back gone. Emily froze, her heart skipping at his words. She thought immediately of her mother's mounting medical bills, the constant stress that had weighed on her family for years. How do you know about my family's financial situation? She asked quietly, suspicion creeping into her voice. I make it my business to know important details, Alessandro replied simply. Your father's medical debts, your mother's ongoing treatments, the small loans you've taken to help cover expenses. I know it all. Emily's chest tightened, uncomfortable with how much this stranger already knew about her private life. So this is some kind of business deal? Fake engagement in exchange for financial help? Precisely, Alessandro confirmed. Nothing more, nothing less. You wouldn't have to live a lie forever, just long enough to convince my associates I've settled into a stable relationship. Emily paced slowly, her mind racing through the implications. And what happens after that? What happens when this so-called engagement ends? You'll walk away with your family's financial security intact, Alessandro said, and I'll return to managing my business without unnecessary pressure. Simple, mutually beneficial. Emily paused, staring down at the ring on her finger, feeling its weight both literally and figuratively. Everything about this situation felt overwhelming, dangerous even. Yet the thought of her family's financial burdens disappearing was tempting beyond words. This is a lot to process, Emily finally said, her voice softer now. I don't even know you. I don't know anything about your world, your business, or what kind of danger this could bring. I promise, Emily, Alessandro said, his voice softening slightly. I'll protect you every step of the way. You'll have my full support, financially and otherwise. All I'm asking is for you to play along, publicly, until my associates are satisfied. Emily looked into his eyes, searching desperately for any sign of deception, yet finding only calm sincerity. Despite every instinct warning her against trusting a stranger, especially one involved in dangerous business, she felt herself considering his offer seriously. If I agree to this, Emily said carefully, I need guarantees. Real guarantees, in writing, that my family's financial issues will be handled immediately, regardless of how this ends. Alessandro nodded firmly. Absolutely. I'll have documents prepared first thing tomorrow morning. Emily took a deep breath, weighing the risks against the potential relief for her struggling family. Finally, she extended her hand toward him, still trembling slightly. All right, Alessandro. I'll do it, but only for my family. Alessandro gently shook her hand, sealing their unusual agreement. Thank you, Emily. I promise, you won't regret this decision. As they stood there, quietly acknowledging their strange new arrangement, Emily couldn't shake the nervous excitement building within her. She had just agreed to something completely unexpected, entering a world she knew nothing about, filled with danger, secrets, and now, an engagement built entirely on convenience rather than love. But as she looked again at Alessandro, calm and confident, something told her this arrangement might become far more complicated than either of them anticipated. Little did Emily know, stepping into Alessandro's world would soon reveal dangers, secrets, and unexpected emotions neither of them were prepared for. A journey that would test her courage, challenge her heart, and change her life forever. 3 days later, Emily stood in front of a massive iron gate, staring up at the mansion that would soon become her temporary home. The building was enormous, all stone and glass, surrounded by perfectly trimmed gardens, and guarded by men in dark suits who barely acknowledged her as the gate slid open. You'll get used to it, Alessandro said, noticing her wide-eyed expression as they walked up the long driveway together. I don't think used to it is possible, Emily muttered, glancing at the sheer size of the place. Her entire apartment could fit inside what looked like just the entrance hall. Inside, the mansion was even more overwhelming. Marble floors, high ceilings, expensive art on every wall. A woman in a sleek black dress waited near the staircase, her expression cool and assessing as Emily approached. Emily, this is Sophia, my assistant, Alessandro said. She'll help you settle in and get you anything you need. Sophia's eyes swept over Emily's simple outfit, a flicker of judgment crossing her face before she masked it with a polite smile. Welcome, Miss Parker. I'll show you to your room. As Sophia led her upstairs, Emily could feel the weight of unfamiliar eyes watching her from every direction. Staff members, guards, all clearly wondering who this ordinary woman was and why she now wore Alessandro Marchetti's ring. That evening, Alessandro hosted a small dinner to formally introduce Emily to some of his closest associates and family members. Emily dressed carefully in a modest but elegant dress Sophia had provided, trying to steady her nerves as she walked into the dining room. The long table was filled with sharp-eyed men and elegantly dressed women, all watching her closely as she took her seat beside Alessandro. So, Emily, said a woman near the end of the table, her voice smooth but pointed. This was Isabella Conti, a woman Emily quickly learned had once been romantically involved with Alessandro. Tell us, how exactly did you and Alessandro meet? It's all so sudden. Emily felt Alessandro's hand find hers gently under the table, a silent reminder to stay calm. We met at my cousin's wedding, Emily said carefully, keeping her voice steady. Sometimes the best things happen when you least expect them. Isabella's smile tightened slightly. How romantic. Though I must say, it's quite a change for Alessandro. He's usually so particular about who he associates with. The insult was subtle but clear. Emily felt heat rise to her cheeks, but she refused to let it show. People can surprise you, Emily replied evenly. I imagine that's true for everyone at this table. A few soft chuckles rippled around the room, and Emily caught a flicker of approval in Alessandro's eyes. Isabella's expression darkened slightly, clearly not used to being met with such calm confidence. After dinner, as guests began to leave, Alessandro's uncle Giovanni, a stern older man with sharp, calculating eyes, approached Emily privately. You handled Isabella well, Giovanni said, studying her carefully. She doesn't usually let things go so easily. I just answer her questions honestly, Emily replied. Giovanni nodded slowly. Honesty is rare in our world, Miss Parker. I hope, for Alessandro's sake, that yours is genuine. There was a warning beneath his words that Emily didn't miss. She nodded politely, but the weight of his words stayed with her long after he walked away. Over the following days, Emily began adjusting to her strange new life. She learned the rhythms of the mansion, the unspoken rules of Alessandro's world, and slowly, the more she observed, the more she realized just how dangerous this world truly was. Guards patrolled constantly. Conversations were often hushed, careful, filled with words she didn't fully understand. Territory, deals, loyalty. One afternoon, while exploring the mansion's quiet library, Emily found Alessandro sitting alone, reviewing documents with a troubled expression. Is everything all right? She asked, stepping inside cautiously. Alessandro looked up, surprised by her presence. Just business matters. Nothing you need to worry about. Emily sat down across from him, curiosity overtaking her hesitation. You know, for someone who claims this is just business, you seem to carry a lot of weight on your shoulders. Alessandro studied her for a long moment before answering. This life isn't easy, Emily. Every decision affects people, my family, my employees, even strangers sometimes. It's a responsibility I didn't always want, but one I can't escape. Emily felt an unexpected wave of empathy toward him. I understand responsibility, she said softly. My family has struggled for years, and I've always felt like I needed to hold everything together. Alessandro's expression softened, seeing genuine understanding in her eyes rather than judgment. Maybe that's why this arrangement doesn't feel as strange as it should, he admitted quietly. Their eyes met, and for a brief, quiet moment, something unspoken passed between them, a recognition of shared struggles, shared burdens, and perhaps an unexpected connection neither had anticipated. But before either could speak further, Sophia entered abruptly, her face tense. Alessandro, she said urgently, we have a problem. Someone leaked information to the Rossi family about Emily's background. Alessandro's expression hardened instantly, all softness disappearing. What kind of information? Sophia hesitated, glancing nervously at Emily. Enough to suggest she might be more than just your fiancé. They think she could be a vulnerability, someone they can use against you. Emily's stomach dropped, fear creeping into her chest. She had agreed to a temporary arrangement, a simple business deal. Not danger, not threats from powerful families she knew nothing about. Alessandro turned to Emily, his eyes filled with something new, genuine concern. Emily, listen carefully, he said firmly. From this moment on, your safety is my top priority. I promise, I won't let anything happen to you. Emily nodded slowly, her heart pounding with fear and uncertainty. She had stepped willingly into Alessandro's dangerous world, but now, she realized clearly, there was no simple way back out. Part 4. Unexpected Feelings, 1,000 Words. The mansion felt different after Sophia's warning. Guards doubled at every entrance. Alessandro's calm demeanor grew sharper, more alert. Emily noticed the change immediately, the tension settling over the household like a heavy fog. Who are the Rossi family? Emily asked that evening, finding Alessandro in his study, staring at security reports spread across his desk. Rivals, Alessandro said simply, not looking up. Old enemies of my family. They've been searching for any weakness they can exploit for years. And now they think I'm that weakness, Emily said quietly. Alessandro finally looked up, his eyes tired but serious. They won't touch you, Emily. I promise. You keep making promises, Emily said, sitting down across from him. But I don't even understand what I'm actually in danger from. Alessandro sighed, setting down his pen. The Rossi family believes that if they can get to someone I care about, they can pressure me into giving up territory, resources, control. It's happened before, with other people. Emily's chest tightened. Other people? What happened to them? Alessandro's jaw tightened, his silence answering more clearly than words could. Emily understood immediately. The answer wasn't good. I won't let that happen to you, Alessandro said firmly, his voice carrying a weight of sincerity that surprised her. I mean that, Emily. Whatever this arrangement started as, I take your safety seriously now. Emily studied him carefully, seeing something new in his expression. Not just responsibility, but something closer to genuine concern, maybe even care. Over the following week, Alessandro kept his word. He personally checked on her safety each morning, arranged additional guards for her whenever she left the mansion, and slowly, carefully, began sharing more about his world, helping her understand the dangers surrounding them. One evening, as they sat together on the mansion's quiet terrace, watching the sunset paint the sky in soft oranges and pinks, Emily found herself relaxing in his presence for the first time. Can I ask you something? Emily said softly. Of course, Alessandro replied. Do you ever wish you had a different life? One without all this danger, all this responsibility? Alessandro was quiet for a long moment, considering her question carefully. Sometimes, he admitted, but this life chose me before I could choose it. My father built this empire, and when he passed, the responsibility fell to me. I've never really had the luxury of imagining anything different. Emily nodded slowly, understanding the weight behind his words. I know what it's like to feel trapped by circumstances, she said. My family struggles, the constant worry about money. It's its own kind of danger, just quieter. Alessandro looked at her, something shifting in his gaze. You've handled it with more grace than most people I know. Emily smiled faintly, feeling a warmth spread through her chest at his words. I could say the same about you. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the distance between them seemed to disappear entirely. Alessandro reached out slowly, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face, his touch soft and hesitant. Emily, he said quietly, I need to admit something. This arrangement, it doesn't feel as simple as it once did. Emily's heart raced, her breath catching at his words. What do you mean? I mean, Alessandro said carefully. Somewhere between all of this, I've started to feel something real, something I didn't expect, and honestly, don't quite know how to handle. Emily's chest tightened with emotions she hadn't allowed herself to acknowledge until now. I feel it too, she whispered. But Alessandro, this is dangerous. Not just because of the Rossi family, but because none of this was supposed to be real. I know, Alessandro said softly, but maybe it's becoming real anyway. Before either could say more, a loud crash echoed from inside the mansion, followed by shouting. Alessandro immediately stood, his expression shifting instantly into alertness. Stay here, he ordered, moving quickly toward the noise. Emily's heart pounded as she watched him disappear inside, fear gripping her chest. Minutes passed, feeling like hours, until Marco, one of Alessandro's trusted men, rushed onto the terrace. Miss Parker, you need to come with me immediately, he said urgently. It's not safe out here. What's happening? Emily demanded, panic rising in her voice. Rossi men breached the outer gate, Marco explained quickly, guiding her firmly toward the safety of the mansion. Alessandro is handling it, but we need to get you somewhere secure. Emily's mind raced with fear as Marco led her through hidden passageways within the mansion, finally reaching a secure safe room deep within the building. Guards secured the door immediately, leaving Emily alone with her racing thoughts. She could hear faint sounds of chaos above, shouting, occasional loud bangs that made her flinch. Fear gripped her tightly, not just for her own safety, but for Alessandro's, minutes felt like hours until finally, the door opened, revealing Alessandro, slightly disheveled but unharmed. Relief flooded through Emily as she rushed toward him without thinking, wrapping her arms around him tightly. "You're safe," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Alessandro held her close, his own relief evident in the way he tightened his embrace. "I'm sorry you had to experience that," he said quietly. "I promise, I'll find whoever did this." Emily pulled back slightly, looking up into his eyes, fear and concern mixing with a deeper emotion she could no longer deny. "Alessandro, I'm scared. Not just for myself, but for you too." Alessandro gently cupped her face in his hands, his eyes searching hers intently. "I won't let anything happen to either of us, Emily. I promise you that." As they stood together, comforted by each other's presence amid the danger surrounding them, both realized clearly that whatever had started as a simple arrangement had grown into something far more powerful, far more real, than either had ever anticipated. But even as their hearts grew closer, the danger from the Rossi family loomed larger, threatening everything they were beginning to build together. The morning after the attack, the mansion buzzed with tension. Guards moved with sharp precision, checking every corner, every entrance. Alessandro had barely slept, spending the night reviewing security footage, trying to understand exactly how the Rossi man had breached his defenses so easily. "Someone let them in," Alessandro said grimly, standing in his study with Marco and Giovanni. "The outer gate doesn't fail on its own. Someone disabled it from the inside." Giovanni's expression darkened. "You're saying we have a traitor?" "I'm saying it's the only explanation that makes sense," Alessandro replied firmly. Marco shifted uncomfortably. "Boss, there's something else you should know. We pulled the security logs. The gate was disabled using Sophia's access codes." The room fell silent. Alessandro's jaw tightened, disbelief and anger flashing across his face. "Sophia has worked for this family for 6 years. The codes don't lie," Marco said carefully. "Someone used her credentials. Whether it was her directly, or someone who stole them, we don't know yet." Alessandro clenched his fists. "Find her. Now." But when Alessandro's men searched the mansion, Sophia was nowhere to be found. Her room was empty, her belongings gone, as if she had vanished overnight. Emily, watching the chaos unfold from the hallway, felt a chill run through her. She thought of Sophia's cool, assessing gaze from that very first day, the way she had never quite seemed to warm to Emily's presence. "Do you think she was working with the Rossi family the whole time?" Emily asked quietly, finding Alessandro alone later that afternoon. "I don't know," Alessandro admitted, frustration clear in his voice. "But if she was, it means they've had eyes inside this house for longer than we realized." Emily wrapped her arms around herself, unease settling deep in her chest. "What does that mean for us now?" "It means we can't trust anyone completely. Not until we know the full truth," Alessandro said. "And it means you're in more danger than I initially thought." Before Emily could respond, Marco burst into the room, his face pale. "Boss, we just received something. A message, delivered directly to the front gate." He handed Alessandro a sealed envelope. Alessandro opened it carefully, his expression hardening as he read the contents. "What does it say?" Emily asked, her heart pounding. Alessandro's hands tightened around the paper. "The Rossi family wants a meeting. They're proposing a trade, information about Sophia's betrayal, in exchange for something they claim belongs to them." "What do they want?" Emily asked. Alessandro looked up, his eyes filled with a mixture of anger and fear Emily hadn't seen from him before. "You," he said quietly. "They want you, Emily. They believe you're connected to something from your past, something involving your father." Emily's breath caught. "My father? He's been gone for years. What could he possibly have to do with any of this?" "I don't know," Alessandro admitted. "But clearly, they believe you hold information, or a connection, that threatens them somehow." Emily's mind raced back through fragmented memories of her father, a quiet, hard-working man who had passed away when she was just a teenager, leaving behind more questions than answers about his early life. "This doesn't make sense," Emily whispered, fear and confusion swirling together. "We'll figure it out," Alessandro said firmly, taking her hands gently in his. But first, we need to keep you safe. I won't let them anywhere near you. That night, extra security surrounded the mansion, every exit guarded, every window monitored. Emily lay awake, her mind racing through unanswered questions about her father, about Sophia's sudden betrayal, and about the danger now closing in around her. Around midnight, a soft knock came at her door. Emily opened it cautiously, finding Alessandro standing there, his expression serious. I couldn't sleep either, he admitted quietly. Emily stepped aside, allowing him in. They sat together in silence for a moment, the weight of uncertainty heavy between them. Alessandro, Emily said softly, what if they're right? What if my father really was connected to something dangerous? Then we'll find the truth together, Alessandro said firmly. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Emily looked at him, gratitude and fear mixing in her chest. I never expected any of this when I agreed to your proposal, she admitted, but I'm glad I'm not facing it alone. Alessandro reached out, gently cupping her face. You won't ever have to face anything alone again, Emily. I promise you that. Their moment of quiet closeness was interrupted suddenly by a sharp alarm blaring through the mansion. Alessandro's expression shifted instantly to alertness. Stay here, he ordered, rushing toward the door. But before he could reach it, the door burst open. 2 armed men stormed inside, moving fast. Alessandro reacted instantly, pushing Emily behind him protectively. But the men were prepared, moving with brutal efficiency. A struggle broke out, chaotic and fast. Alessandro fought fiercely, but the men were skilled, overwhelming him with sheer numbers. Emily screamed as one man grabbed her roughly, pulling her away while Alessandro fought desperately to reach her. Emily, Alessandro shouted, struggling against the men holding him back. Let her go, he roared, fighting with everything he had. But it was too late. The men dragged Emily out of the room, her cries echoing through the hallway as Alessandro fought desperately, finally breaking free just in time to see them disappearing into a waiting vehicle outside. Alessandro rushed after them, but the car sped away into the night, leaving him standing helplessly in the driveway, his heart pounding with fear and fury. Emily was gone, and now Alessandro knew nothing would stop him from doing whatever it took to bring her back safely, no matter the cost. Alessandro stood frozen in the driveway for only a moment before fury replaced his fear. Marco, he shouted, storming back into the mansion. Get everyone ready. Now. Marco appeared instantly, his face grim. Boss, we already traced the vehicle. It's heading toward the old shipping docks, Rossi territory. Then that's where we're going, Alessandro said, grabbing his jacket, his eyes cold with determination. I want every available man ready in 5 minutes. As his men scrambled to prepare, Giovanni approached cautiously. Alessandro, think carefully. Walking into Rossi territory unprepared could start a war we can't win. They already started it the moment they took her, Alessandro said sharply. I'm not leaving Emily there 1 second longer than I have to. Within minutes, a convoy of cars sped through the dark city streets toward the docks. Alessandro's mind raced with fear and fury, memories of Emily's laughter, her quiet strength, her gentle touch flooding through him. Somewhere between a fake engagement and stolen quiet moments, she had become the most important person in his world. He couldn't lose her now. Meanwhile, inside a cold, dimly lit warehouse near the docks, Emily sat tied to a chair, her heart pounding with fear. Across from her stood a sharp-eyed man she recognized as Vincent Rossi, the head of the rival family. Your father made a mistake many years ago, Vincent said calmly, circling her slowly. He stole something from my family, something valuable. Now it seems his debt has passed to you. I don't know anything about what my father did, Emily said, forcing steadiness into her voice despite her fear. I was just a child. Perhaps, Vincent said, but you're the only leverage I have left. And leverage, my dear, is exactly what I need against Alessandro Marchetti. Just then, the warehouse doors burst open. Alessandro strode in, flanked by his men, his expression deadly calm despite the danger surrounding him. Let her go, Vincent, Alessandro said firmly. This is between you and me. Leave Emily out of it." Vincent smiled coldly. "Ah, Alessandro. Right on time. I was beginning to wonder if you actually cared about this woman, or if she was simply for show." "She has nothing to do with old debts," Alessandro said, stepping closer. "Whatever happened between you and her father, settle it with me." Vincent's eyes narrowed. "Very well. Give me control of the West Docks, permanently, and I'll release her unharmed." Alessandro's jaw tightened, but he didn't hesitate. "Done. Let her go first." Vincent chuckled darkly. "Not so fast. I need your word, in front of witnesses, that the docks are mine before she walks free." Alessandro looked at Emily, seeing the fear in her eyes, but also her quiet trust in him. "You have my word," he said clearly. "The docks are yours. Now release her." Vincent nodded slowly to one of his men, who moved to untie Emily. But just as she was freed, one of Vincent's men, hidden near the shadows, suddenly raised a gun toward Alessandro, betrayal flashing in his eyes. "Alessandro!" Emily screamed a warning. Alessandro reacted instantly, pushing Vincent aside as chaos erupted. Gunfire echoed through the warehouse, Alessandro's men returning fire immediately. Emily dropped to the floor, covering her head as bullets flew around her. In the chaos, Alessandro fought his way toward her, shielding her body with his own as they moved quickly toward the exit. Marco and the others provided cover, taking down Vincent's men one by one until the warehouse finally fell silent, the danger passing as quickly as it had begun. Vincent, cornered and outnumbered, finally raised his hands in surrender, his plan collapsing around him. "This isn't over." Vincent spat bitterly as Alessandro's men restrained him. "Yes, it is," Alessandro said coldly. "You touched what's mine. That's a mistake you won't get to make twice." With Vincent and his remaining men taken into custody, Alessandro turned his full attention to Emily, checking her carefully for any injuries. "Are you hurt?" he asked urgently. "I'm okay," Emily whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You came for me." "I told you," Alessandro said softly, pulling her into his arms. "I'll always come for you." Emily buried her face against his chest, relief and emotion overwhelming her completely. "Alessandro, I was so scared. Not just for myself, but for you too." "It's over now," Alessandro murmured gently. "You're safe." Weeks passed after the warehouse incident. The Rossi threat was finally dealt with, and slowly, life within the mansion returned to a calmer rhythm. Emily found herself spending more time with Alessandro, no longer out of obligation, but out of genuine affection that had grown steadily between them. One quiet evening, Alessandro found Emily on the terrace, watching the sunset just as they had weeks before, back when everything had still felt uncertain. "I have something to say," Alessandro said, standing beside her. Emily turned, curiosity in her eyes. "What is it?" "This started as a business arrangement," Alessandro said carefully. "A fake engagement, meant only to serve a purpose. But somewhere along the way, everything changed. My feelings for you are real, Emily. Completely real." Emily's heart swelled with emotion, tears forming in her eyes. "I feel the same way, Alessandro. I never expected any of this, but I can't imagine my life without you now." Alessandro reached for her hand gently, looking deeply into her eyes. "Then let's make this real, truly real. Not because of business, not because of family pressure, but because I love you, Emily Parker." Emily smiled through her tears. "I love you too, Alessandro." He gently kissed her hand, right where the $10 million ring rested, now symbolizing something far more valuable than money or status: genuine, unexpected love. As the sun set beautifully behind them, painting the sky in brilliant colors, Emily realized clearly that sometimes life's most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings, proving that true worth was never measured by appearances, but by the strength of one's heart.